Confused with the role of the wrist in your bow arm? In this video, discover the optimal violin bow wrist movement and exercises to cultivate that motion. Hello, I'm violinist Kaye. I specialize in working with dedicated adult violinists that want to develop a sound foundation, impeccable violin technique, and to play with gorgeous tone. So let's talk about the role of the wrist in the bow arm. We really want to have it be supple and flexible no matter where we are in the bow. So the first thing to just think about is, what does the bow need to do and how do we need to be in order for the bow to be straight, to operate. So that's the first thing to think about. Instead of thinking about what you need to do, think about what the violin needs you to do in order for it to happen. So what I mean by that, if we play with a straight wrist, set up with a straight wrist, and we play, you see it's a very crooked bow. Okay, and it's hard to even play like just on one string. The wrist really does help with where we are as far as what string we're touching, and also it helps with where we are in the bow to help make that transition smooth. So let's break it down with the different parts of the bow. In the middle of the bow, when we're playing, we just play normally. We want to be able to have that motion in the wrist. Okay, it's a very subtle motion, but it is there. We don't want to be locked up. If we're locked up, I'll do the same thing. Sounds very kind of beginner-esque. Okay, so we want that to be flexible here. Okay, so that's the middle of the bow. The middle of the bow, most violinists feel pretty comfortable and play in the middle of the bow without any issues. So it's when we get to the extreme parts of the bow that the wrist has more influence on what's going on than in the middle of the bow. And this is why a lot of violinists are very uncomfortable at the frog, because the wrist really does need to change. If we are here at a straight wrist at the frog, it's going to be very difficult to pull out a beautiful tone. It's going to get kind of scratchy. It's very imperative that while we're at the frog, we do have a nice hill in the wrist, what I call a hill in the wrist, okay? So here at the frog, you can even do some exercises where you only play at the frog. So I played, it's pretty much kind of extreme frog. So we want to be here to maybe here, okay? And then that way you can start to develop how the wrist feels at the frog. Now when we're at the frog, this is with a nice curved pinky and a nice dropped, relaxed elbow. We don't want to have a high elbow, but a nice relaxed elbow. And you can see that that puts a nice curve in the wrist. Okay, so that's the role of the wrist at the frog. I'm going to pull a long down bow so you can even see what happens. So you can see here that the wrist starts to straighten out. And then in the upper half, you can see we get what I call a smile in the wrist. So the wrist actually does have a smile in it. Okay, so a great exercise to help practice the fluidity of this motion is to be here at the frog with a nice relaxed elbow, relaxed shoulder, and a nice hill in the wrist. Okay, now as far as the bow hold, you'll want to check out the balanced bow hold video to get more detail on what exactly is going on in the bow hold here. So we're here at the frog, and then just travel to the tip without playing. You know, just take yourself to the tip, and you can see what happens to your wrist. So here we have a nice smile, and here we have the hill. The wrist helps you to be comfortable in these two extreme parts of the bow. And so extreme tip when you do this exercise. We want to get all the way to the very tip. So a very, very extreme tip. So I'm going to have you see it from this angle, frog to the tip. Okay, so you can see how that affects the wrist. Nice smile in the wrist to a nice hill in the wrist. This is a very, very good exercise to do to discover how the wrist changes from the frog to the tip, okay? And then just like we talked about doing scales at the extreme frog, you can do scales at the extreme tip. Okay, so extreme tip from the very, very end to like maybe 2 or 3 inches. And just do scales there so you can see and feel how that feels with your wrist at the extreme tip, okay? So the next step after that is to pull beautiful long whole bows from the frog to the tip. And you can see how the wrist needs to be flexible. So when we get, I'll do this up bow again so you can see. Straightens out about here. And we start to actually get a nice heel in our wrist about lower middle. So this is kind of middle, lower middle. And then from there, you want to feel as if somebody or something is actually pulling from the wrist to get you to the frog. So here in this lower third, we want to feel that the hand is actually hanging from the wrist. It's not the hand that's controlling this motion, like purposefully hanging. It's a relaxed hand that's hanging from the wrist. So if I take this bow away, it's just a relaxed hand that's there. And you can even do that as an exercise. Have a nice relaxed hand, bring your bow to the hand, and you can feel that how the hand is hanging from the wrist there. I'm going to give you another possibility so you can discover that feeling. So you want to take a ball or something that has some weight to it. As long as it's rounded, it's going to work. I just have this fun jellyfish, which I'm going to use. And I'm just going to put his head into my hand, a nice relaxed hand, okay? So get your hand relaxed, bring the ball or whatever you have that has some weight to your hand, okay? So this is going to help you feel what we feel at the frog when we play at the frog. So that weight, allow the weight to kind of pull your hand down and the wrist comes up. Okay, so this is our feeling while we're at the frog, just nicely hanging from the wrist. Now, if we take this down, so you can see just lifting this up with the hand and coming down, that's that motion that we have when we pull a down bow and we come to the tip of the bow. This is that wonderful smile that we have. And then when we come back down to the frog, that wrist lifts up and you could feel that weight. As you do this, you want to feel that your shoulder is staying relaxed and not coming up. Okay, so the motion is coming down with a nice smile. Here we're at our air bow tip. And then we're going to come to the frog, air bow frog, and you can feel that weight. So you just want to do that a few times. Just feel like you're really elegant with the motion of the bow arm. So you can get a feeling of how this works, just muscularly without any instruments or bow. Now the next step is you can take your violin and hold the violin and do the same motion with your ball. This way you just activate feeling like you're holding the violin and the same idea, but with your ball or whatever is helping you feel that motion of the wrist, okay? And just do that a couple times, beautiful violin hold. And then let's take our bow. Okay, so same idea, it's the exact same motion as you see. Okay, so you could just even kind of air bow to kind of feel that. And then the next step, frog to tip. Back to frog without feeling your shoulder tensing up. Okay, and just doing this. I would do this on every string so you could really feel that motion, how that works. All right, so this is what the bow needs in order to behave properly and what the wrist needs to do for flexibility. The next step is then to go ahead and pull long, straight bows. So you can see how the wrist works there. What I find violinists actually forget is they get here to the smile, but then they forget here to lift the wrist. it's not really that we're purposely lifting the wrist, it's just that the hand will be hanging from the wrist as we come to the frog. Let me know in the comments below, what was your biggest aha from this video in regards to your wrist, and what exercises you will be implementing to help the flexibility of your wrist in your violin bow arm. If you enjoyed the video and you would really desire to have more training from me in a step-by-step program to improve your violin tone, definitely check out my 12-week Signature Academy, Gorgeous Tone Academy, where you'll find exercises, tutorials on a daily basis to get you where you want to be. It's a completely self-guided online program that you could start at any time. I'd be happy to see you there. I'll leave a link in the description below or somewhere around in this video. Happy practicing.